Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine. For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers. I did that good. Only one so far.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. All our shows over the last 6.5 years are on YouTube. If you click on the pictures on the NTNM site, it will take you to the video section, and from there you can take the jump into YouTube, inventory our file, and watch all 6.5 years worth of shows within minutes. Not really. Community policing, we're really big on that. Caps24.org. Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. He runs that site. It's a place you can report graffiti and all kinds of other stuff, and it's a direct report to the city. If you see pictures of gang graffiti, things like that, take the picture and send it on the site, and it goes directly to the police so they can identify whether it was a tagger or a gang guy. And some of this graffiti is just people expressing art. It's not always gang stuff. So it helps the cops to know that, and plus they see if a gang wants to move into the area. It is a pleasure to introduce you to, well, he's been on the show many times. He's done some excellent Marty Levinsons, not to mention for the identity of the real Marty Levinson. We're talking about the commissioner of the 13th District. It's 13th?
Right.
Larry Suffredin. How you doing?
Hi, Abby. Thanks for having me again.
First of all, thank you. So the county, pensions, whatever else. What's going on with the county?
Well, I like to say we're stealth government. A lot of people don't know what we really do, but we're probably in the best shape of any stealth government in America. And our budget's in good position. Our pensions are reasonably in good position. We've lowered taxes, so people kind of like what's going on. We've got a good healthcare system. We're ahead of the curve in the United States on national health care with a waiver we were able to get last year. Our court system is functioning fairly well, and we still have, unfortunately, this violence in our community, which puts an impact on the county and people treated for gunshot wounds at Stroger Hospital, people in our medical examiner's office, and people in our court system that we probably are paying for both the state's attorney and the public defender for. But for the most part, I think we're in good shape.
How did that happen?
Well, Toni Preckwinkle's the president, and she shows up to work every day. Well, we had a president before who didn't quite show up every day.
Or even when he was there, he didn't show up. The biggest, I always keep track of posses. When people come here, it's like, but Larry came on his own, by the way, but one thing you guys don't see off camera is how many people tag along with some of these elected officials. And when Todd Stroger was here, for those of you who are Jewish, we could have had a minion, which means basically he had about 10 people.
That was only the first time, Abby, because they had heard that you had this spread of food and that they were coming to a Jewish deli. And then when they got here, they realized it wasn't true, so they never came back again. But the first time, everybody comes here because they think he's supplying a sweet table, and he's going to have bagels, and he's going to have other things. But Todd, it wasn't his job. So now we're going forward. Things are going well. The Forest Preserve is going well. On these snowy, rainy kind of days, like the day when we're filming on what is today, the 27th of February, thinking about the Forest Preserve and the ability to go canoeing and bicycle riding and hiking, motivates you because we'll have warmer days. And our Forest Preserve system is in good shape. We've been able to keep all the trails up, and the Botanic Garden is ready to have everything blossom and be exciting for the spring. So, yeah, this is a good time to be around.
No, definitely. And by the way, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to plant in the backyard, and I'm actually going to go to seed in early March with lettuces and things like that.
Yeah, and you were telling me about how you've been tending to your soil and feeding it with the right kind of worms and other things to get nutrients into the soil?
You make the compost. Well, I had a compost pile for several years, and it happened accidentally. I just never disposed of some leaves in the backyard. Somehow the right reaction kicked off. They turned into a fine silty type compost, and these red wigglers really go through there, and they themselves make the soil more fertile. What wound up happening, and the reason I got rid of my compost pile, which is something a lot of people don't think about and I never would have thought of, I had Tom Dart over here. And I was showing him the backyard. It was during the summer. And then he let me know that even though the compost pile is great for this, that, and the other thing, it's a great place for mice and rats to hide.
That's a good thing for the sheriff to know, I guess. Just trying to figure out, when you're on this show, folks, you're always trying to figure out what's the right segue. Well, the segue to gardening is a good one. The Chicago Botanic Garden is in my district. It's part of the Cook County Forest Preserve System. Their gardeners are working with a lot of the neighborhoods. We're taking vacant lots and we're turning them into gardens the way your backyard is a garden. And with Tom Dart, we have Botanic Garden volunteers who are working at the jail, teaching people who are in the jail and in the boot camp to be master gardeners. And I recently went to the opening of a corporate garden at the Craft World headquarters up in Northfield, and they opened this phenomenal garden that was planted by volunteer workers under the supervision of 2 young men who came out of the Cook County boot camp.
Wow.
And have now become master gardeners on their own. They were young guys who the boot camp gave them a diversion to keep them from having a conviction, but gave them structure, and it was really remarkable to see. So gardens, I think, are important things in neighborhoods, and we need to have more gardens, and we need to encourage people to go see the beauty of nature.
Yeah, not to mention the food is delicious, and it doesn't have to have all the wonderful poisons you get from the supermarket.
Yeah. Well, when you come here, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever invited to be on this show, try and do it in the summer, because when his garden is at full production, you will walk out of here with peppers and with tomatoes and cucumbers and all kind of
basil,
things.
rosemary. By the way, I actually did keep basil, rosemary alive in the house over the winter, along with one thing I couldn't believe I still have going is leeks inside.
Yeah. Well, I know that you just did a show. I came in here about people doing energy efficiency and trying to find leaks inside.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that if we're talking. Oh, you're talking about those kind of leaks.
No, the kind of good in soup. Oh, and by the way, as far as the Jewish spread goes, I for anybody that hasn't tried the kosher Kobe pastrami, I highly recommend it.
The 50th ward that we're in right now is, I still think, the most exciting of the 50 city wards. I represent 2 city wards. 49th is exciting in its own way, but the 50th, the diversity of food and culture that you run into here is absolutely amazing. Last summer, I did a movie in the park with Senator Silverstein and Alderman Silverstein, and the number of families and the variety of families, and having kosher pizza and having all kind of other food from the Indian, the Pakistani, the Bangladeshi cultures was it's just amazing. So we're very fortunate, those of us who live up this way and who represent this area, to do it. And that's going to be my segue into reminding people that property taxes are still things you have to watch out for. Today happens to be the last day for paying your first installment without a penalty, and your people got their bill with 55% of what they paid last year. We're doing some seminars. It's up till March 13th. You have to file an appeal to the assessor. We'll be back later in the summer with the Board of Review for the 2013 valuations, which will be payable and used to pay taxes next year. But, I just want to keep reminding people that every year you have to watch out for your property and make sure you're only paying your fair amount. And my office in Evanston and the programs that I do with Assessor Barrios and with Board of Review member Mike Carbonargi, who represents our area on the Board of Review, is to keep reminding people you have to protect your most important asset, which is your home.
I'll tell you, the Commissioner Barrios has basically let me know that
he's now Assessor Barrios. He's now Assessor Barrios.
Sorry about that. You're the commissioner. But he says he thinks the smart way to do things is appeal every time.
I absolutely agree with him. I think that's how you make sure that you're not paying more than your fair share, and that your relationship to the value of your house is a fair relationship to the value of all the houses that are around you. You know, we're coming out of this recession. You know, a year ago when we had the total reassessment of Rogers Park, the median was a negative 22% reduction from what it had been, because the real estate market had gone down. But, you know, we're seeing a stabilization in that, and you begin to see that some of the storefronts that have been vacant are now being filled because the economy is coming back. But
well, my property tax bill, by the way, went from, I was paying something like $3,000 a year, and now it's up to closer to $5,000, and that's within about a 3-year period.
Well, if people could really see, if he'd ever take you on a tour, like the Edward R. Murrow tour of the White House, of this house, you would understand that he probably should be paying 15. But that's another that's another story.
Yes, it's all gold and silver outside of this little set here.
You know, today is actually the day after primary day as we sit here, and the mayor of Morton Grove lost. He's the only incumbent from my district area who lost yesterday on primary day. We have in April, early April, the rest of the suburban elections. Robin Kelly, who used to work for us at Cook County, won the 2nd district primary yesterday, and hopefully in early April she will win the general election, and she will be a member of the Congress before tax day on April 15th.
And you know what? And the bar isn't really high for her to be better than the last 3.
Well, she will be a wonderful person. You know her because she came here when she was running for treasurer.
Well, she's actually an impressive person, and I was very pleased to see somebody of her quality running and actually winning.
When she worked at the county, she used to park her car near where I parked my car, and she had a license plate, and the license plate said "Made in New York." And the first time I saw that, I thought, what the heck, is somebody from Illinois got a plate that says "Made in New York"? And then I saw it was her car, and I said, so Robin, explain the plate. Well, she was born in New York City, which is the little accent that she carries. And she was right. She was made in New York.
Interesting. But no, she really is an intelligent person, very much so.
Yeah.
And hopefully she will, as a matter of fact, one a former indictee, not Jackson, but the one before that used to be a buddy of mine in junior college. We used to hang out together all the time.
He didn't do real well yesterday. That was Mel Reynolds, who was running for, trying to reclaim his seat. Let me talk about health care for just a second.
Please.
You know, Cook County was granted a waiver, the 1115 waiver, and that allows single-member families. So that means single men without any dependents, wives or children, or single women without any dependents, without husbands or children, have not been eligible for Medicaid up till now, even if they had very low income. So now they're able to get it, and we're signing people up. And I want to encourage, if there are people out there who have limited income, who are single, who haven't been able to get health care, this is your opportunity. You can call my office in Evanston at 847-864-1209, or you can go to the Stroger Hospital and go to the administrative offices there, and they will sign you up for this. And this is probably the best part of the national health care, because it's the part that starts a year earlier.
Cool. Now let me ask you, where is Stroger Hospital?
Well, Stroger Hospital is on Damon and Taylor.
Yeah.
It is behind where the old Cook County Hospital was. It is in the Illinois Medical District.
Yeah, I was going to say that Roosevelt Road over there they've got all these hospitals and.
Yeah. Well, I always describe the Bermuda Triangle of Cook County is the corner of Ogden and Damon. If you stand at the corner of Ogden and Damon, and this will explain kind of the cost to our taxpayers for some of the violence that's going on in the community, and you look to the east, you see the Stroger Hospital and you see the Stroger Emergency Room. And that is where the vast majority of gunshot victims and victims of violence are brought. The busiest emergency room in the nation.
Wow.
The prototype for the ER television show that many people out there watch.
I actually have a cousin who's one of the doctors there who deliberately wanted to work there and not get rich.
A lot of people. Well, a lot of people have done that, and they have provided phenomenal service. So there's where the victims of violence go, and we try to save their lives. If we can't save their lives, you look to the west from that corner of Ogden and Damon, and you see the medical examiner's office and the morgue of the county of Cook, where thousands and thousands and thousands of people each year go through. And then if you look to the south, you can see the basically newish court building, which is our juvenile court system, but symbolic of all the courts that we run, where the people who have caused the death and violent injury are tried. And those three offices basically cost us to run, dealing just with this violence, about $1 billion a year.
Wow.
And that's your tax dollars, and that's the real cost of this violence that's going on in our society, where we see 15-year-olds being shot, and we see other good people like police officers who are, washing their cars or just coming home and are in uniform and are shot by, gangbangers who have no respect for life. And so I think it's really important that we, the people of this county, understand that we are paying a cost for this violence, and therefore we all have an interest in trying to stop it.
No, I don't think there's any question about it. I have some other plans. I have some other ideas of it, but this is your forum, not mine.
Yeah.
So there's a limit to how much trouble I want to get
He just
you
gave
into.
me the show, folks, so I mean,
It's yours. Go ahead, run with it. By the way, I actually was at Mount Sinai one time for a couple of days because that's where my doctor was, and I couldn't believe. I mean, Cook County's got more. I couldn't believe the amount of gunshot wound people that were coming into.
Well, all those
Mount
hospitals
Sinai.
down there, St. Anthony's, Mount Sinai, Stroger, Rush, we all are receiving people who are badly injured. And Mount Sinai also has the Schwab Rehabilitation Center, which is one of the country's best rehab facilities. And many of these people who have been shot are quadriplegics, paraplegics, and require all kind of special services. So, we've got to try to keep things to stop this violence. The program that's been called Ceasefire has been active here in Rogers Park. I think it's made an impact, and right now, Rogers Park, as I look at the two big issues going on in the city of Chicago, violence, fortunately, knock on wood here, we have not had the kind of violence that other parts of the city have had, and we're also watching the other parts of the city being torn apart by school closings, and again, fortunately, Rogers Park has not been included in any of the school closings.
Interestingly enough, the murder, the lottery winner, the poisoning, it's a block and a half that way.
Well, that's an interesting case. That's a murder, but it's not the same kind of senseless
nobody else
street
has
violence.
to worry about the gun going off. It's like, people are getting killed randomly because, these guys don't know how to shoot.
Well, the case you're just talking about with the lottery winner, our Cook County medical examiner plays a key role in that. Our state's attorney is going to play a key role in that, because obviously when people brought to the medical examiner, Dr. Sina, a new medical examiner we have, attention that we had this issue where they thought that cyanide might have been used to cause his death, he's been able to determine it with the medical tests, and now they've reclassified a natural cause death to be a homicide, and we'll see where that all goes. But I'm talking about in Rogers Park, we are fairly fortunate that we can walk down streets without being totally afraid that there's going to be random shooting or random attacks, and that's a blessing to have.
As a matter of fact, the 24th district, which is about 95%, the 49th and 50th wards,
Right.
At the last monthly district advisory committee meeting, the commander showed us that we actually are the second safest district in the city.
Well, I happened to be at a public meeting last night in another part of Rogers Park, and there was a citizen there who said to me that your commander should be the police superintendent, because he has the temperament and the command style that causes respect with the officers and respect within the community, and so they give a lot of credit to the commander working with the CAPS people, and I know that the two of you work very much with the CAPS program, which I think is extremely important in keeping people informed and knowing what's going on.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody was telling me earlier today, oh, you're such a law and order guy. No, you know what? It helps to work with the cops. It's not Law and Order, good, bad, right wing, left wing, to want to see bad guys go off the streets. And if you actually talk to the cops and let them know what you know, and they tell you what they know, and you exchange information, things can work. By the way,
I think they were telling you that you're a Dick Wolf fan and that you like the TV series Law and Order and all of its offshoots.
You know what? I didn't watch that for years and years and years. And I finally started watching it, and I had to watch myself at the community policing meetings. People get up. I actually, and this has happened more than once, somebody will get up and they'll describe a situation that happened to them. And then they'll say, and I did exactly what they do on Law and Order, why didn't it work? And for those of you who've watched the show, and I've had various state's attorneys and law enforcement officials around, you know, it's not, even though it doesn't work that way, and even in the case that you were talking about, the cyanide, and the dry cleaner who won the $1 million lottery prize. No, just because you see it on NCIS or CSI, but no, the Law and Order shows I do like, I have to admit that.
Well, they have their purpose, and so does Chicago Fire. Our fire department comes across, I think, fairly well.
It's also Dick Wolf, the same guy.
It's a Dick Wolf show, and
Yeah.
I think it's the first one that he's branded with Chicago. So that
Yeah, no, and you actually get to see Chicago. But yeah, that actually is a pretty good show, I've got to say.
So, you know, from our perspective at the county, as I come on your show periodically to give people a report on the state of the county, we're in pretty good shape. You know, I think people can be proud of what the county is about, what the Forest Preserve's about, and you know, I look forward, if you have questions, to having people call us and talk to us, and you know, hopefully this year will get better and better for us, and it'll get better for the state of Illinois. You know, we just had Forbes magazine say that Chicago was the fourth worst city to live in. Now,
I think Rockford was third.
Well, you know, let's remember, Forbes magazine is not exactly an unbiased publication, and I just can't believe that that anybody would see Chicago in that light. I mean, we were down there with Detroit and Rockford, and
Detroit's number one. Rockford was 3.
You know, I think Chicago is probably the most beautiful city.
Very beautiful city.
In you know, having a lakefront with a freshwater lake. Like we do is just an amazing thing. And having water, you know, if you go to Tucson today or you go to Phoenix, you're going to wonder, will there be water tomorrow? We know we're going to have water.
Did you know that 20% of the world's fresh water supply is in the Great Lakes?
I knew that. And you know, when you describe, I just came back from a trip to Hong Kong, Singapore, and Thailand, and describing to people the size of the Great Lakes, they look at you because you know, the rest of the world does not fully appreciate what these Great Lakes are. They have no concept of a lake like Michigan or Superior. You know, they just, and so it's kind of fun to be explaining to them where we live and how we have fresh water, while they're all worried about salt water or water that's melting out of a mountain.
Yeah, Lake Michigan is actually somewhere close to about 400 miles long.
Yeah. Now, of course, the depth of it's gone down. I was with Water Reclamation Commissioner Deborah Shore the other day, and we were in a restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant came over and said, "Why is the lake low?" And she talked about, you know, the fact that we haven't had the kind of snow, we haven't had the kind of rain, we've had the drought conditions last summer, and the evaporation because of the heat and the drought, and you know, I think there's things to worry about. Unfortunately, people are writing on it, but water is one of the essence of our life. Your soil back there for that garden isn't going anywhere unless you got water.
No, it's definitely, that's 100% correct. And by the way, I'm actually, well, no, that's not for the show. Yeah, no, I'm very careful about that. But you know, you've got to be careful with the water also. It's because just because you've got it here doesn't mean you have to use it. You know, you got to. It still has to be. It costs to treat. You know, both in terms of it going out. You know.
Well, we got to get rain barrels. We got to do a lot of things to conserve our water.
No, there's a lot. You know, for me, I'm not particularly a green person. Part of my problem with the green movement is that some of these people, you know, make it a religion and make it a little too gangrene. But the fact is,
gangrene.
But you know, the fact of the matter is that if you know simple, basic, you know, stuff that your parents taught you about being saving and being frugal, and don't waste things. I mean, I like to think of things along those sides, and if some of it is accidentally green, that works out great.
Yeah. Well, in the Forest Preserve, we're finding more and more people coming out and learning about their environment and learning about the land. And it's probably the best part of my job is working with the volunteers in the Forest Preserve.
It's funny. One of the things that actually scares me is somebody, if God forbid somebody threw out one of those electromagnetic pulse bombs like they did in 24, like pretend episode, whatever. How many people would know how to live?
Well, hopefully we don't have to go through disasters. You watch what's going on is in the recovery from Hurricane Sandy, and you watch the far Rockaways in New York City and realize that's in New York City, that land. That's not, somewhere that's barren and not connected to the rest of civilization. So we're very fortunate to live where we live.
Oh, no question. It's funny because when you were talking about the low water levels, I remember right after I got into college, one of my friends lived in one of the high-rises right off Hollywood on Lakeshore Drive. And at that point in time, a lot of those buildings were thought to be in danger because the level of the lake was too high.
Right. Well, I can remember there's still some signs there on those streets that go up to the lake there that warn you about high waves in the winter and that the ice can form on your car if you park in certain places.
Well, it definitely can get icy near those particular locations. 3-minute warning. What else would you like to take up?
Well, I think we've seen some interesting changes in the legislature and in the new remaps around us, and Evanston now is represented partially by Representative Kelly Cassidy, who has most of the east side of Rogers Park, and Senator Heather Staines.
Yeah.
Senator Schoenberg has retired, and we now have
Good guy.
Senator Daniel Biss. Senator Schoenberg is now.
I have to tell you, I'm hearing more and more good things about him all the time.
Daniel Biss is one of the brightest people to ever go to the General Assembly. He's a PhD in mathematics from MIT. He taught at the University of Chicago.
He's also smart enough to avoid my invitations to be on the show.
Well,
he's doing. I've seen him on Channel 11. Maybe he'll start to come on here now. People are really impressed with him.
He's a very good guy. Laura Fine took his place. She's a wonderful young rep who had been a professor at Northeastern Illinois University. And Robin Gable now doesn't have any of the city, but is moved to representing more of New Trier.
I happen to like Robin.
Yeah. Scott Drury is a new state rep who has part of my district in the New Trier part. Comes from the Highland Park area, a former assistant United States attorney, a very, very bright, articulate guy. Julie Morrison has been elected to the state Senate. She represents a lot of Lake County, but a little bit of Cook.
She beat my buddy Ari Friedman.
I know he'd run for Congress. He has a streak going.
Unfortunately, the wrong way. When you're in a district that's 60-40 Democrat and you're a Republican.
Well, and Jan Schakowsky has an ally now in Brad Schneider, representing the 10th.
Dan, to me, was the most surprising element of the last election.
Yeah. Julie replaced Susan Garrett, who retired, and we've got Elaine Neckritz, who's also as impressive as Daniel and willing to take on the pension issue, who is representing another part of my district
she's
that I
been
overlap.
working with Tom Cross, and you have one of the current solutions.
They're trying to deal with pensions. Somebody's got to make some efforts, and I give her great credit. I'm very impressed by.
So if people would like to call your office and get their property tax help, among other things.
820 Davis. We're right at the Davis Street L stop, the Davis Street Metro stop. 820 Davis, 847-864-1209. Karen Chavers runs my office up there. Tom Mahoney.
And by the way, I've been in the office, and she's terrific to work with. She was very helpful to me.
And Tom Mahoney has now joined my staff. He's experienced in helping people with real estate tax issues. So I'd encourage you to come by, visit us in Evanston, stay for dinner at one of the great restaurants in Evanston, and then you can encourage those Evanstonians to come up here and eat at the great restaurants in the 50th and 49th Ward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Right. Commissioner Larry Suffredin, 13th District. Thank you, Sonny. We're out of time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.